afternoon. The name is Ismail Shabazz. My birth date has been on the 8th of December 1937, 8 a.m. according to my mother's record. At the age of 24, I was exposed to the religion of Islam, and from there on I had a new beginning, like a new life, a rebirth. And then I met a man named Justice. He was known as, well, he was called Justice, but his name was Charles X. Egan, I know him as. And later on his name became Ibrahim Abdullah. And he was a revolutionary in the truest sense.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. And we became partners along with another brother, you know, Brother Farrakhan, Uda Farrakhan. And the revolution really started with the Islamic movement under his leadership. And then we found the area called More Tomorrow in 1963. When we went there, we found a few people, namely Bizers, Andersons, and the landowners were about to try to move them. These people who I'm telling you about, they were born in that area. The old man, for example, one Mr. Tush Anderson, he was 90 years old when we got there. We found a man like Mr. Shabazz. He died at 93. When we got there, he was around 80, something like that. And his brother, Fred Bizer, and a lot of Bizers. But they have all been pioneers, and we try to honor them every year when we have our anniversary. This is how the More Tomorrow event started, and that's how I got involved there, you know. And ever since, they have been holding that torch. Yeah. Now the Brother Abdullah went, so people look on me now as a, you know,
spiritual leader.
Spiritual leader, not so much spiritual leader, but as a leader in the sense of the movement for the village, moving from A to B. You know, when the village councils, they start forming, we were one among the first to be recognized. More Tomorrow Village and all the different areas. And that began in 1965. And many village councils have come up since then. That
began when Philip Golson won his first seat in politics.
Philip Golson, I think, and I think he may get it first. I think he was nominated his first to the opposition team.
He's the one that began to build village councils.
Yeah, but it all came under the social development in there. But he was not in.
He was not a minister.
Yeah, he was not a minister.
But he was the energy.
Yeah, the energy.
Created the human development and social development program in the politics of our history.
Yes. Yeah, and so since then, everything has been revolutionizing, you know. And in 1956, the split came. That's when Golson, Richardson and all that. But before it got to the split, the British government was a little nervous about the PUP movement. And so they decided,
we have the sharp report. We could talk about.
I decided to put some pressure on saying this man is selling out to Guatemala, blah blah blah, and so that was a very tricky period. But what really broadened the split was when they went to London in 1957. When they went there, it was revealed, and the British, they brought this out, that they found George Price trying to sell the country lock, stock and barrel. In fact, they went so far as to make the governor then to put that over on the radio. Then it was Radio Belize. And so that's how this cracking started. Well, George Price had some strong followers and supporters on that trip. I remember one they called Denby Jeffries, later became Dog with Two Tails. Yes. I don't know if you heard about that. He won by 2 votes.
Yes.
And then you had Philip Golson, Philip Golson was not on that London delegation, but right after that thing started to crack up, then eventually they brought the charge of sedition on Philip Golson and Lee Richardson. Because you know they had the newspaper.
George was also involved in that, but he was not. There's something that happened that
he was tried on a separate thing, George Price.
Yes.
Same sedition.
Yes.
But in that case, Golson and Richardson did time. They spent 2 years in the prison.
Yes.
All right. Later on, George Price was tried with the same charge, and they called it what? I don't remember, but it's the same seditious thing. Because they use the same law against me and Evan X some years later. It's sedition. And so the crack began to come along. Then you had Golson move away from the party, and he formed the NIP, National Independence Party. And so it went on, and then later on, all kind of parties start coming up. Yeah.
What role did Soberanis play? Because he is credited with the labor movement, kind of the grandfather of the labor movement.
Yeah.
What exactly was his role? Because I have also seen records that say that the Federation.
Oh, the West Indian Federation?
Yes, was another influence.
Yeah, it was another big thing
at
there.
That time.
The British wanted to force us into the West Indian Federation, and George says no, because it would have been a problem for us at that time. And so there are so many things that came up that tried to break up the PUP, but they just hold on, man. They were strong, until finally in 1984 they got licked.
I also believe that the strength of the PUP and the whole political movement in Belize at that time was strengthened because we were all focused on fighting the colonialists.
Yes, exactly.
I think
that was the main focus.
That was the focus. There was a focus. Brother Shabazz, today we don't have that kind of focus.
Yeah.
Given the opportunity to draw on a focus that we can assist all young ones so that they can develop a proper platform. What's your vision?
Well, there's so many things to give the youths. One of the things I would go to the bottom, and this has nothing to do with religion, but it has to do with the reality, to give respect to your elders. We are falling down flat on the face almost. We are not giving respect to our elders, mother, father, aunt, the neighbor. We are falling down flat. Say 40 years ago, 45 years, we still had some of that I call it the golden rules of life. We will respect each other. We were poor.
In far as finance, but we were wealthy.
Rich, yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No, that's why I know I do not credit a lot of the violence, the murder and so to the issue of poverty. There's an example of that. I started work with government in 1953 March. At that time, the government of Belize was paying the highest labor pay, was 30 cents an hour. You work 8 hours, you make $2.40 for 8 hours. And then, if you do 45 hours, which would be half day on Saturdays, you get $13.50, and they take out 3 cents for stamp.
Duty.
Yeah, you understand? Yes. So don't tell me about cost of living. But I tell you what, the food and items, they were very cheap at the time.
But it was also supplemented.
Huh?
Because it was also supplemented because I could remember even up to my time, we had a garden in the backyard.
Yeah.
Pepper.
We had that orientation.
Tomato, that's right. Yeah. Chicken. So we got our own eggs.
Yes.
And the next thing that was incredible about our life back in those days that we are speaking about is, remember they used to have a carrier? 3 or 4 tier carrier, and your mom.
Oh yeah, with the food.
Yes,
yes.
my mother used
yeah.
to send me to give food to somebody, but the person would send me back. An empty tray was in the carrier.
Yeah.
So my mother might send beans and rice to a neighbor, and the lady send back some meat.
Exactly.
That's
what I said. It go right back to the golden rule. You had respect and caring for each other.
Care.
It had nothing to do with your money.
Love of self.
Or poverty. Okay? That was like instilling us in the older days. And then, 40 years beyond, things start changing. As we get so-called modern, I call it so-called modern, that's where we begin to lose. I'll give you an example of that. There were in the old days, when radios start coming in, you had the Philips radio, Zenith radio, and all those radios. They were battery radios. You know, you carry a battery about that high.
Yeah.
So, and you used to move that out district and so on. When you got a radio, your house get crowded. People want to hear the news, etc. Right? And as it began to multiply, everybody started getting radio, that reduced, and so on. Then the same thing happened with television in the 80s. I remember before I went away, when television, when Muhammad Ali fight, or some other great boxer, where they pile up at there was a club on North Front Street there, I don't remember the name, and we used to pile up there to go and watch Muhammad Ali, because they had a special way how they get in the signal, right? And so you find as we advance in technology, science, we start separate. And we separate to the point where we don't care anymore about our brother or sister. And that has been one of the big